The City of Murfreesboro Board of Zoning Appeals, regular meeting for March 25th, 2026. First item on our agenda is a determination of a quorum, and with 4 of the 5 members of the board present, we do have a quorum today. Next is a public comments period. Has anyone reached out wishing to speak before the meeting starts?
No, sir.
All right. Next, we'll move to the consideration of our minutes from the regular meeting on February 25th, 2026. Those minutes have been provided. Are there any changes necessary to those? If not, I guess we'll take a motion to...
Move for approval.
A motion and a second. Any further discussion? If you'd call the roll for us.
Mr. Batchelor? Aye. Mr. Tips?
Aye.
Vice Chair Halliburton?
Aye.
Chair Young?
Aye. All right, so those minutes will stand as written. Next, we've got one item of old business. It's application Z25010 by Mr. Adrian Quintero, representing SBA, and they're requesting to amend the conditions for approval for the existing special use permit for the existing 150-foot tall wireless telecommunications tower. This is for property located at 2117 North Thompson Lane in a heavy industrial zone. The applicant is requesting to remove the previous condition of approval that all antenna mounted to this tower are required to be of stealth construction. Mr. Ballamy, if you'd review that for us.
Yes, glad to, and good afternoon. Chairman Young and members of the Board of Zoning Appeals. This item was initially before you back in May of last year, and it was to amend the special use permit that was previously granted for this cell tower located at 2117 North Thompson Lane. That is just to the northeast of the intersection of Thompson and Broad, kind of behind where the old Cummings Sign Company building used to be before the Good Friday tornado of 2009. The tower is 150 feet in height. One of the conditions of approval, as you'll recall, was that all of the antenna be of stealth construction. And the way that that was interpreted back when this tower was approved was that the antenna would be required to be mounted inside of the pole. And so that's why it just looks like a pole out there right now, because the antenna are actually located inside the pole. So back last spring, SBA, who owns the tower, made application to amend that special use permit so that the antenna could be moved to the outside of the pole, and they proposed a traditional antenna mount that spans pretty wide. You've seen many of those around town and other locations. The BZA conducted a public hearing in May of last year, and after that public hearing, after expressing some concerns regarding the impact, I think, on the view shed at that prominent location, the Board of Zoning Appeals voted to defer action at that meeting and directed the applicant to work with staff on coming up with a kind of I think a middle ground solution that would have less of a visual impact from this location. And so the applicants, it's taken them quite some time working with their engineer. We actually sent them photographs of antenna mounts that we thought would be more in line with what the BZA was thinking would be appropriate. And so they have submitted revised plans for your consideration for this request, and we're bringing it up under old business today. Since the public hearing was conducted back in May of last year, there's another public hearing has not been advertised, as this is an item of old business for which a public hearing has already been conducted. So I'm going to run through a couple of exhibits that were provided by the applicant. So you see in this image, in these two images, on the left-hand side is a view of the existing tower. On the right-hand side is a view of what they are proposing. So you can see the mount is still on the exterior of the pole, but it is not quite as wide as the previous application. What they would propose to do is And this is similar to what they proposed last time with regards to the actual tower structure. They would leave the bottom 99 feet of the tower, and then they would replace the top 48 or 49 feet with a new pole that could accommodate those mounts. And then the lightning rod at the very top would go up to 150, which is the maximum height that tower has previously been approved for. So we'll just run through these. This is, they submitted this as an example of something that is similar to what's out there right now. And this is similar to what they proposed in 2025. So I wanted you to be able to get a good idea of what was before you in 2025 versus what they are proposing now. So, and you can see that projects out from the tower quite a bit. And so this is from the, I think from the set of plans that they submitted last year to you. And on the left-hand side is the existing antenna mount. You see that the 3 antennae are actually inside of the pole itself. And you see on the right, the mount that they were proposing. Here would be the pole itself and kind of a triangular shaped mount. And so this is similar to what is proposed right now, whereas they would still project from the pole itself, but not quite as far. You'll see an elevation of the tower with what the proposed antenna would look like. And here you see that the antenna are arranged on the outside of the tower, but not quite in the same orientation as before. So that is just a brief presentation of what they are proposing, and I'm going to run through our recommended conditions of approval, which mirror what we had in 2025, but also add a couple of more. So staff's recommended conditions of approval. The first 4 are what was in your staff report last year. Number 1, the applicant shall obtain all necessary permits and inspections for the proposed tower and associated structures and mounts. Number 2, prior to applying for a building permit, the applicant shall obtain approval of a site plan for the proposed development from the Murfreesboro Planning Department. Improvements depicted on the approved site plan shall be constructed simultaneously with the tower, including but not limited to any required fencing and landscaping if needed or required by the Board of Zoning Appeals. Number 3, the maximum height of the monopole and telecommunications antenna structures and all appurtenances or accessory equipment shall not exceed a total of 150 feet. And they confirmed in writing for me last week that that will be the case. Number 4, regarding discontinuance of use of the tower. In the event of discontinuance of the telecommunications facility, the facility owner shall comply with the requirements of the City of Murfreesboro Zoning Ordinance, Chapter 31, for notification, declaration, and removal of the wireless facility. Number 5, and these 2 are new, the approval of this special use permit amendment shall apply for up to 3 exterior antenna mounts on this tower. So in other words, if you find that this proposed solution complies with the standards, rather than taking every subsequent carrier or antenna mount back to the Board of Zoning Appeals, allowing them to move forward should the other 2 carriers on the tower wish to have similar mounts. And number 6, prior to the issuance of building permits, a structural analysis shall be submitted to the Building and Codes Department for review and approval. A separate updated structural analysis shall be submitted for review and approval with each permit application for subsequent exterior mounts. And that's all the presentation that I have for you. Mr. Jeff Taylor with SBA is in the audience. SBA, as I mentioned, is the tower owner. And if you have any questions for him, I'm available for questions as well.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Blom at this time? Thank you. Mr. Jeff, if you'd like to go provide us any comments, anything you'd like to add to the application?
Just that I think it was a good compromise between the two, between the stealth installation versus a full array with a platform mount, and then going with a, like I said, like a good compromise with the flush mount is what we call it. So it allows the carriers to deploy the technology and equipment that they need to serve the customers and still keep it somewhat, contained.
Question about the other two carriers then, where will their equipment go?
Well, right now, they're on the tower inside the stealth container, so they would also,
Are they in the top 50 or the bottom 100?
they are, they're all in the top section of the tower. Yep. So
Mr.
it's-
Batchelor, I can show you that on the plans. So here's T-Mobile right here at, looks probably at like 145 feet. 20 feet lower than that is Verizon, and 20 feet lower than that is AT&T. Right now, they are both inside the pole. What staff has proposed is to, if the BZA finds that the mount that's proposed with T-Mobile is acceptable, that the approval be for both of the other two carriers as well, so that they do not have to come back to the Board of Zoning Appeals for an amendment,
So I'd let them install out on the outside.
if they so desired.
I assume that's performance versus feasibility, the reason to come outside of the pole now?
It is, yeah. It allows them to put more equipment up there and allow more data and, transmission.
Have they already stated, the other two carriers, have they already stated some intent that they're going to want to do that?
We do. Verizon, I work on their project, and they have a project kind of on hold pending the decision here. And the other carrier as well, I'm sure, would like to deploy different equipment.
I've got a question. It's kind of unrelated, I guess, to a degree, but I've noticed that there are now across the country, there are other poles that look like an evergreen tree or something, for an example. Am I totally?
There are some out there.
Is
Yes,
there a
sir. We have some
significant
with our
cost
company as
factor to
well.
that?
They become pretty expensive to install and maintain. The limbs are constantly breaking, and it just becomes a bit of a maintenance issue.
And in an application like this, to have like one singular 150-foot tall tree, I think in the right context that's a good solution. In this one, I don't know how effective that would be, though.
Yeah.
It's not that I really have issue with it being in a heavy industrial zone and, on those two major thoroughfares where it's located. Doesn't seem like it should be so obtrusive anyway, so.
Yeah, the only comment I'll make, even though we're not having a public hearing, we did have a public hearing before, and that's based upon comments from neighbors that are like going towards Memorial. They did not want the antennas or whatever you call them on the outside, and so that's why we went with this stealth look. And so I'm not sure, other than I understand functionality, but I'm not sure what would change my mind based upon the discussion we had before to allow these antennas to be exterior. That's just my opinion, just to be honest. I don't know what's different other than the functionality as to how we came to this conclusion in the first place.
I think,
Matthew, do we have a picture of what was proposed previously?
yes, I just showed that a moment ago.
Okay. It's a little hard to tell, though, the measurements on that versus what's being proposed here.
Yeah, and I think it would be helpful also that the fact that we're not approving one exterior antenna, we're approving three with only seeing one.
I think the other two would be identical to this. But certainly you can strike that condition if you so choose. Mr. Halliburton, just in response to what you said, I think our thought process was that because you deferred it, that if you did not want any kind of exterior mount, you would have just denied it because that's what they're already approved for. And that by deferring it, it gave us the opportunity to work more with the applicant on a different solution.
Yeah, and not to speak for you, Mr. Halliburton, but my hope was that we would have a 2026 solution as opposed to just a closer mount, that we're taking a step backwards from a design perspective. I mean, I appreciate the applicants and staff's working on a compromise. I'm just a little disappointed that it's not aesthetically a better solution than what's there. That in 2026, there's not better shrouding that can pass the antenna signal through it better, that we're left with an inferior solution to what's there currently. Again, from an aesthetics perspective, I can appreciate that maybe the technology is not there yet in 2026 to have a shroud that can pass a signal through it, where it requires to have an extensive cage system and to have 3 stacked within 50 feet.
And just some additional food for thought. I think as far as the original approval to keep it inside of the tower, back in 1999 when that was approved, wireless needs were a whole lot different than they are in 2026. And so, you know, the more antenna we get on the exterior of the tower, and of course, Mr. Batchelor, the design of that is a different discussion, like as you mentioned, but I think the more antenna that are on individual towers, the less need there is to construct additional towers. And so, I think that's something that we as staff keep in mind now, whereas before, the you know, trying to keep as few antenna or make them as unobtrusive as possible was, you know, there were different needs for the antenna that are going on there and different demand on them. And so now we're trying to be mindful of the fact that the fewer antenna that go on a tower might warrant additional towers in the future.
Do we have any data as far as the current tower today, how far radius that serves and
Did they,
versus the new, and how,
did they
again,
provide
to the
heat
point
maps
of needing
for
less
that?
of these?
That may have been in the 2025 materials, but I don't recall.
I'm just kind of thinking ballpark. I mean, I assume you think your radius, or is it just more capacity within what's currently there?
Absolutely, yes.
Just more capacity and not really extending out farther?
As far as the coverage area, it would provide both. It would provide a little bit further coverage and plus faster coverage for the current area as well. So I think the proposal is really trying to serve the public and the customers, as well as emergency services, because AT&T provides the bandwidth for, you know, 911 calls and everything.
All right, any further questions for the applicant? Appreciate your help.
Thank you.
What is the aerial distance between where this tower is to those residential neighborhoods over there on the other side of the river?
Sure, I can tell you. Give me just a moment. let's see, so I'll do one to Riverbend and to Riverview. So to Riverbend, about the closest point is about 0.65 miles or 3,400 linear feet. And to Riverview, which if we're looking at the aerial photo here, you see the river and you have the commercial uses along Thompson Lane, and then so you have the homes along Riverview Drive across the river. That is approximately 12 to 1,300 feet. The backs of those homes across the river.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Well, while I agree with some of the other members, it's not quite the aesthetic that we were looking for. I'm kind of the opinion that with better coverage and trying to reduce the number, that I'll be okay with this one. I think it's better. Again, it's not what we have there, but again, in the interest of trying to lessen and provide more coverage for the people in the area, that I guess there's a benefit. We all have a cell phone and want the coverage when you pick it up. So I'm okay with how it's laid out and trying to take our thoughts into account.
I would make a motion to approve the application as presented, subject to all of the conditions noted in the staff. I'm going to put it out there. I understand Mr. Batchelor, Mr. Halliburton's concerns. I recall some of the conversations of some neighbors near there complaining about the situation. I think that the company has done their best attempt to come up with some kind of compromise. I still believe that where it's located in a heavy industrial unit and with all the other commercial activity around it, that it mitigates a lot of the impact that would go to the residences near there. So that's where I stand on it.
And one thing I did want to mention also is on that property where we have that zoned heavy industrial, where the old Cummings Sign Company building was located, we do anticipate receiving a site plan for a very large warehouse on that property in the very near future.
And you're talking about that specific property, not the other large warehouses on Broad Street?
Right. On the property where that old large warehouse was that was demolished. So on this property here, and the tower is located at the very northern tip of that property. We are anticipating seeing a site plan submitted, I think, probably next month for a large warehouse that will take up the majority of that parcel.
So we have a motion to approve. I'll second the motion. Any further discussion? All right, if you'd call the roll for us.
Mr. Batchelor?
Nay.
Mr. Tips?
Aye.
Vice Chair Halliburton?
Nay.
Chair Young?
Aye. Sounds like a hung
Counselor?
jury.
I believe since it's a tie, well, I think that should we defer until we have the full membership to vote? I believe under the rules of procedure, a tie would be a denial.
I think
So we could just treat it as that, or if we want to give the applicant another shot, we could make a motion to defer. But
I will defer on to the board.
I mean, in fairness to the, even though I'm voting against it, in fairness to the applicant, I think it would only be fair that, that the other member of the BZA hear the applicant and let them weigh in on their decision.
And might I add something too? So the applicant, we sent them pictures of what we thought a good middle ground was. And so they were, and they did what staff recommended that they do. So they were moving forward in good faith and based upon the direction that we gave them, that we thought constituted the direction of the board. And so if there is a different direction that y'all want, if there's, I would say, if possible, perhaps you can tell them exactly what you want, if anything, that would perhaps mean that you would believe that it meets the standards, if anything. And if that's not the case, then if there's nothing that they can do, that's fine too. But I think they were acting in good faith to address the board's concerns.
I'm going to make a motion to table my original motion to a time certain at when we have a full board present.
Mr. Tully, would since a motion is since a vote has already taken place?
the vote has taken place, but Chair Davis has not announced the result of the vote. So I think the best course would be if one of the nay votes moved instead to defer rather than voting nay. That might be the best course. So
moved.
okay.
And as far as the direction for the applicant, again, I thought we were, and maybe I'm misremembering our meeting, but it was to bring at that time a 2025 design, and now how about a 2026 design that's forward-looking, that is stealthy, and that, and if we're going to see a design, have it with all three companies, because knowing that the top 50 feet holds all three, by removing that, you're going to have to put the equipment back. What does that look like? So any, even if that's a mock-up, if the other two carriers are not committed to it yet, I think it would be still more helpful for the board to review all three at the same time, so we know what we're looking at, and to have as close to a stealth design as possible.
I also took them at their word that this new design, while it's not the stealth, there is some benefits to the public and the users. Maybe some details, if it's available without too much trouble to provide, that maybe helps. So we had the motion to defer. Do we need to?
Yes, I think technically the motion should be to withdraw the vote and to defer consideration until the next meeting. I think best course of action, though, given that I think the will of the BZA has been made known, if the applicant were to request deferral, that would be the cleanest path forward, so we don't run into issues with timelines and such.
Well, I think just rules of procedure here would say there is a motion to table.
There is, yes.
Require a second. It wasn't seconded.
Correct.
Seconded. So
We do need to deal with that first. Yes, yes, we do.
come back to the motion to defer.
Correct. So I think Mr. Halliburton's motion, I would suggest the motion be that you move to withdraw the vote and to defer consideration until the next meeting of the BZA.
Well, and it took them 10 months to get revised drawings, so I think we probably don't want to put a date certain on it.
Fair enough.
Would that, Mr. Taylor, would that?
That would be, yeah.
Okay.
Correct, yeah.
All right, so he made the motion. We need a second for Ken's motion.
If that is Mr. Halliburton's motion.
Yes, my motion would be to defer indefinitely, and I will, do I need to say I'll remove my nay vote on the prior motion?
I think so, yes. So the motion would be to withdraw the vote and to defer consideration until a future date.
I withdraw my nay vote on the previous motion and ask that we defer this indefinitely.
Now, that motion will need a second if anyone is so willing.
And Mr. Tully, do we need consent from the applicant for an indefinite
That would be
deferral?
Yes.
I will second the motion.
Okay.
All right, and let the record show that Mr. Taylor has given his consent for an indefinite deferral.
Okay.
All right, motion and a second for deferral. Any further discussion?
Question. Don't we have to vote on his withdrawal of his vote? I mean, you've got a vote that was essentially denied by the virtue of
Right.
two ayes, 2 nays. Now he's wanting to recall that vote and change his vote. So it would appear to me that has.
When the previous vote failed and then the deferral is the second vote?
Motion to defer.
I am not certain that we need a vote on Mr. Halliburton withdrawing his prior vote because that prior motion had not yet carried,
Okay.
I think.
Yeah, I follow you.
Yeah. So I think the vote here would just be on the motion and second to indefinitely defer consideration of this.
I'm just going to say, whatever the outcome, Mr. Tully, we're sending the minutes to you to prove.
I'll be very happy to. Not a problem. Yeah.
Okay, if you'll call the roll for us.
Mr. Batchelor?
Aye. Just make sure we're voting on the.
Yeah. So yeah, just to be clear, this is just a vote on deferring the item to a future date.
Mr. Tips?
Aye.
Vice Chair Halliburton?
Aye.
Chair Young?
Aye. All right, so we've approved something. We've approved the deferral. Appreciate your willingness and cooperation to help us get to a solution that the
Appreciate
board's
y'all's
okay
time
with.
as well.
Thank you.
Mr. Taylor, I'll reach out and be in touch.
All right, next item, new business, special use permit, application Z26003 by Mr. Mina Awad, requesting a special use permit in order to establish and operate a cigar lounge in a commercial highway zone. This is for property located at 1630 South Church Street. Mr. Shackelford Roll, if you will review this for us.
Good afternoon, Chair Young and Board. This application is this application is by Mr. Mina Awad, and it's requesting a special,
And if the cable department could go to the podium computer.
just got a pop up right in the middle of my, okay, I think I'm good now. All right, back to the application. Z26003 is by Mina Awad and is for the request for a special use permit in order to establish and operate a cigar lounge. Just to give you an overview, the applicant Mina Awad is requesting a special use permit to establish and operate a cigar lounge at 1630 South Church Street. The applicant proposes to occupy a tenant space in an existing multi-tenant commercial development. The tenant space is 3,249 square feet and is located in a one-story building. The property is zoned CH and is in the South Church Commercial Center. The development is on the west side of South Church Street, right along Middle Tennessee Boulevard. If you're not familiar, this segment of South Church Street is primarily developed with more intense commercial uses, many of them zoned CH, LI, HI, which is our industrial uses. Surrounding land uses include the Rutherford County Juvenile Justice Center to the south, as well as the former Samsonite factory to the west, and an office building to the north, as well as 2 car dealerships across the street to the east. As depicted in the application site plan, the tenant build-out will occupy one of these spaces in a commercial plaza and and the entirety of the tenant improvements are in the interior of the building, so no exterior work. Cigar lounges require mechanical upgrades to the building to ensure an internal air and ventilation standards. And the applicant has submitted those plans to Building and Codes department for review. In the materials, the applicant has also included their hours of operation. They plan to run from 10 a.m. to 9 p.m. or 10 p.m. in some instances. He has also indicated that he expects an average of 19 customers per visit, which is well below the average traffic that we see in that area. And he has also indicated that there will be no food and beverage sold on site, nor will there be any live entertainment. I thought it would be helpful to go over each, both the definition of a cigar lounge as well as the general standards of applicability. So I'll start with the definition. Cigar lounge, as it's listed in our zoning ordinance, is an establishment where the principal use is the sale of cigars to patrons who smoke cigars on or off-site, where any sale of food or alcohol is accessory to the use. As mentioned, there will be no food or beverage sold here. And then the general standards of applicability are listed below. I'll just go through them individually. The first is that the proposed building or use will not have a substantial or undue adverse effect upon adjacent property, the character of the neighborhood, traffic conditions, parking, utility facilities, and other matters affecting public health, safety, and general welfare. The proposed lounge meets that standard and is not anticipated to create any substantial or undue adverse effects on adjacent properties, neighborhood character, traffic conditions, parking availability, utility services, or overall public health and safety. The use operates at a, as mentioned, low intensity in comparison with the neighbors and will generate low traffic compared to other specialty commercial tenants. It's a larger commercial center. They have more than adequate parking on site, and all smoking activity will occur indoors and will be supported by some pretty extensive mechanical upgrades and filtration. The second standard, that the proposed building or use will be constructed, arranged, and operated as to be compatible with the immediate vicinity and not to interfere with the development and use of the adjacent property in accordance with the applicable district regulations. The proposed use is compatible with the commercial character of the CH district and the surrounding properties along with South Church Street. It is consistent with a typical standard tenant build-out application, and all proposed improvements are internal to the building. Many of the nearby properties are zoned either business or light industrial, so we believe this will be aligned with that standard. Third condition, that the proposed building or use be served adequately by essential public facilities and services such as highways, streets, parking spaces, drainage structures, refuse disposal, fire protection, water and sewer, or that persons or agencies be responsible for the establishment of the proposed use and will provide those services. With it being a tenant build-out, we believe this will meet those, but each specific department also reviews this in a typical tenant build-out application. Standard 4, the proposed building or use will not result in the destruction, loss, or damage of any feature determined by the BZA to be significant, natural, scenic, or of historic importance. This standard is not applicable in this case, as the property is not located within a historic district or scenic corridor or any area containing natural or cultural features as identified by the BZA as having special significance. In addition, the proposed use is located within an existing commercial structure, so there will be no demo or land disturbance going on here. And then the fifth standard is that the proposed building or use complies with all additional standards by the BZA, or by a particular provision of this section authorizing such use. In this case, cigar lounges don't have additional standards. It's just the general applicability. So with that being said, staff proposed that this use is expected to function with low intensity within an established commercial district and will generate low traffic. So I recommend approval on this, subject to the following conditions: The applicant shall obtain all necessary permits through building codes and shall comply with all code requirements. And the second, planning shall be notified if there are any significant changes, including but not limited to changes in volume, trips, changes in proposed accessory uses.
Thank you, sir. Any questions for staff? Thank you. Guess we're letting you off easy. Anything the applicant would like to add? Like to come forward? Anything you'd like to add?
No, he explained it very well. We'll have meet all codes and.
Okay.
Good afternoon. Mr. Mark explained it very well. We'll have all necessary ventilation. We're using state-of-the-art ventilation systems, not only for our male customers, but female customers to come in and enjoy premium cigars and not smell like cigars leaving. And then also, we'll just be selling premium cigars and pipe tobacco, nothing else.
So you're not selling any beverages of any kind?
So, no, at the moment, we're not going to be selling. We're just focused on premium cigars at the moment. We'll sell probably like soda or something in the future, but other than that, no alcoholic beverages. So.
Yeah, I just noticed that the application said no food and alcoholic beverages, but it didn't say no beverages of any kind. I was curious. So people are going to come in and smoke, but not going to have anything to drink or just play pool, it looks like, or something like that?
No, we don't want to sell food there. It's more of just focused on the premium cigars and just coming in and hosting events and bringing in the premium cigar industry to the store and letting people meet it face-to-face instead of online sales and such.
Mr. Awad, you have a location in Shelbyville right now, correct?
I do. We have a location.
Is that how it operates in Shelbyville as well?
Yes. The same exact thing. No food, nothing like that. We're just focused on premium cigars and pipe tobacco.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
And just as a little bit of extra background, this was a use that we put in the zoning ordinance a year or two ago, so it was not previously in Chart 1 or defined, and because it was something that seemed to be gaining popularity, we added it to the ordinance and in the commercial highway zone made it a use by special use permit.
Good. Any further questions for us? Anything else you have to provide for us?
That's all.
All right. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
At this time, we'll conduct a public hearing. Is there anyone present wishing to speak for or against this application? If you'd come forward, give us your name and address, and provide us any comments you may have. Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing and open the floor for any further discussion or a motion.
There's no discussion. I'll make a motion to approve, subject to all staff comments and as outlined in the staff's presentation, why we should approve this special use permit.
I'll second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? If you would call the roll for us.
Mr. Batchelor?
Aye.
Mr. Tibbs?
Aye.
Vice Chair Halliburton?
Aye.
Chair Young?
Aye. All right, that application's been approved. Appreciate your time. Next application is Z26004 by Ms. Colleen Fogel, requesting a special use permit in order to construct and establish an accessory apartment. This is in a residential family zone, RS15, for property located at 1711 Spiroff Drive. Mr. Anthony, if you'd review that for us.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon, Chair Young, members of the BZA. So to just start with a general overview, the applicant, Ms. Fogel, is requesting a special use permit in order to construct and establish an accessory apartment at 1711 Spiroff Drive, which will be within a new build. The accessory apartment will be occupied by the applicant's aging parent. The gross floor area of the accessory apartment is 831 square feet. However, well, I'll get to that in a second. but it is located adjacent to the garage and it is currently within the principal structure. The property is zoned RS15. It is in the Riverview Cove single-family residential subdivision. The structure in question with the accessory apartment was issued a building permit several months ago and construction commenced, but during building and codes inspection, city staff observed that the construction of the accessory apartment, and it was determined that the planning department inadvertently omitted communicating the special use permit requirements to the applicant before the permit was issued. As shown on the Eagle View aerial, the accessory apartment will be located at the rear right-hand corner of the principal structure. The proposed net floor area of the accessory apartment is 693.2 square feet. It includes a kitchen, living area, 1 bath, 1 bedroom, a laundry room, and a closet. The accessory apartment has 1 exterior entrance on the rear of the house, and it is integrated within the principal structure. As we can see on this chart, the proposed floor area would be 693.2 square feet. With the maximum building height, it'll be within a home that meets that maximum building height of 35 feet. And again, it'll be within a home that meets those RS15 setbacks.
Can you go back to the setbacks?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Staff believes that it does meet all standards of general applicability. I do want to go through the additional standards for accessory apartment uses. So standard 1, only 1 accessory apartment shall be allowed upon a lot zoned for single-family purposes. This will be the only accessory apartment on this lot. Standard 2, except for bona fide temporary absences, the owner of the residence or lot upon or in which the accessory unit is created shall occupy at least one of the dwelling units. The applicant will live in the primary residence and their parent will live within the accessory apartment. Standard 3, the accessory apartment shall be designed so that to the degree reasonably feasible, the appearance of the building remains that of a one-family residence. Again, this is going to be built right into the back. The way, when I get to the floor plan in a second, you will not be able to see that there is an accessory apartment. If attached to or located within the principal structure, the accessory apartment shall be designed and constructed to allow it to be part of the principal structure. Again, the same thing, it'll be built within the home. Standard 5 and Standard 6, this is what I wanted to call out with the square footage. So in the zoning ordinance, it calls out common special purpose areas such as closets and laundry facilities that are not calculated within the net floor area. So including those areas, it is above the 700. However, we do not calculate those for the purposes of the 700 square feet. And so it's removing the closet and the laundry area is the 693.2 square foot number. Standard 7, staff recommends that rather than the above, the BZA condition approval on the recording of a restriction of use of land prepared by the city attorney, which would require that the accessory apartment only be occupied by a family member or an invited guest and cannot in any circumstances be used as a rental unit. And Standard 8, the applicant understands that the BZA may set additional standards. Just to show you all kind of how this is going to look. So let's see. All right. So this area in the back is where the accessory apartment will be. Then if we go down to the floor plan, so with the entrances, your only direct exterior entrance is over here in the back of the house. And then the other entrance actually goes into this one-car garage, but that does not connect directly to the accessory apartment. You could enter in through the garage and then go in through here. to get into the accessory apartment. And again, it's this is the dry clean area, and this is the walk-in closet, which does not count towards the the calculated floor area. Staff does recommend approval subject to the following conditions. One, the owner of the property for this accessory apartment unit shall occupy at least one of the dwelling units on the premises, and members of the family or their invited guests shall occupy the other dwelling unit. And they are not able to use it as a rental unit to non-family members. Standard 2, prior to the issuance of a certificate of occupancy, the applicant shall complete and record the restriction on use of land document prepared by the city attorney, which shall limit the use of the accessory apartment to only what is allowed by the zoning ordinance. Number 3, separate utility meters or service connections, including but not limited to electricity, gas, water, or sewer, shall not be installed or requested for the accessory apartment. Number 4, a separate mailbox or mail receptacle shall not be installed or designated for the accessory apartment, nor will the accessory apartment be assigned a separate address. And number 5, the applicant shall obtain all necessary permits with the Building and Codes Department and shall comply with all code requirements. And I'm free for any questions, and the applicant, Ms. Vogel, is also here to answer any questions.
Thank you. I guess with it being attached, I guess because it could potentially be viewed as an accessory apartment is the reason it requires the permit versus being a second kitchen and purposed for something else?
So
The fact that it's not, it seems odd that it's attached.
It's because it has an external entrance, and so it could theoretically be used separately, I believe.
That's the trigger, okay.
The ordinance.
Well, and I believe regardless of whether it's attached or not, if you have the 3 components of a kitchen, a bathroom, and a bedroom, that we consider it an accessory apartment regardless of whether it's attached or not.
Yeah, so the fact that someone may have 2 kitchens in a single-family home doesn't necessarily trigger it being considered an accessory apartment, but here it's self-contained. It's not like you can't get directly from this unit to the main dwelling, and so it's self-contained, and it has all those elements that would make it be considered a separate dwelling unit.
Okay.
Help me understand why it's not calculating the closet and the laundry.
So we're going strictly by
Because it's attached.
I'm sorry?
Is it because it's attached, but has an external entrance?
Why we don't calculate the laundry in the closet?
Yeah.
No, we're going strictly by the definition of floor area in our zoning ordinance. And
Yeah, I
floor-
don't understand. I mean,
Yeah, so-
to me, gross living area is gross living area.
So it's really a net living area so the standard says no more than 700 square feet of floor area. And I'm going to pull up the definition of floor area because in their zoning ordinance, it specifically calls out things that are excluded from the definition of floor area. And so really we applied
It's
that.
only within the ordinance. It's not because gross living area is one,
Right, yeah.
calculate that.
Yeah, the standard says no more than 700 square feet of floor area. And so we look at the definition of floor area, which I've got pulled up right now. If we can go to my computer. And it says the following shall be excluded from calculation of floor area. And it says areas of common special purpose used by a substantial portion of the occupants of the premises, including laundries, storage areas. And that's how we excluded the laundry room and the storage closet.
Okay.
I don't remember that coming up before, but it's,
I don't either.
it's right there.
I think
Right there in writing.
I think in most situations, folks are keeping it below the 700 feet gross.
Heated and cooled is living area. That's my,
Sure. And I think that, I think that's what most people would think of.
Yeah.
We're just taking the literal definition from our zoning ordinance and applying it.
Very liberally, yeah. Okay. Thanks.
All right, any further questions for Mr. Anthony? Thanks for your help. Ms. Vogel, anything you'd like to add to the application? All right, at this time, we'll conduct a public hearing. Is there anyone present wishing to speak for or against this application? If you'd come forward. Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing and open the floor for any further discussion or a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve pending staff comments.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? If you'd call the roll for us.
Mr. Batchelor?
Aye.
Mr. Tips?
Aye.
Vice Chair Halliburton?
Aye.
Chair Young?
Aye. All right, that application's been approved. Next item on our agenda, staff reports and other business. Looks like amendments to the calendars.
Yes, sir. So we had something that because of staffing issues during a particular cycle, that I needed to modify our calendar. And then I just kind of took a holistic look at the calendar and noticed that there were a couple of meeting dates, too, that I wanted to change. The September meeting date, normally our meetings are the fourth Wednesday of the month. The one in September was scheduled for the fifth Wednesday of the month. I'm not sure if that was an oversight or if that was intentional, but I propose moving that to the fourth Wednesday. And the November meeting was scheduled for the Tuesday of Thanksgiving week, and I always find it's best not to schedule a meeting during that week, just because people have a lot going on that week.
Thank you.
So I propose moving that to the previous Thursday, the 19th, and then adjusting some deadlines as well, just due to some staffing issues. Where now I don't, the first two columns, I don't know that those necessarily affect y'all a whole lot, but y'all adopted it as a whole calendar, including those deadlines. And so, unless y'all have any objections, we would ask y'all to vote to approve as amended.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second for the calendar. Does that work for everybody? If you'd call the roll for us.
Mr. Batchelor?
Aye.
Mr. Tips?
Aye.
Vice Chair Halliburton?
Aye.
Chair Young?
Aye. All right, new calendar has been approved.
Thank you.
Anything else?
No, sir.
All right. Thanks for everybody's help. We will adjourn.